Welcome to Leaping Larry's Revolutionary Reading Theatre.
Of course, today we are continuing on with a read of Kwame Nkrumah, Neo-Colonialism, Last Stage of Imperialism. We are on Chapter 10, The Diamond Groups. Kwame Nkrumah, 1965. This is written. Chapter 10, The Diamond Group. The diamond industry of South Africa brought in a revenue of £93 million in 1962. Two-thirds of this was from gem diamonds, whose carat price was recently raised by the industry's controllers. Such importance is the diamond industry to South Africa that there is no duty on the export of rough diamonds. Diamonds are a major concern of Mr. Harry Oppenheimer, and it is through De Beers
books have stuff recorded down all over the years from people. And if we could find a book with someone that had similar problems, just take what they wrote down in the book and make it... fuck. Sorry, Trini. Take what they wrote down and make it ours.
Tommy quote. Nice, nice. Let me grab you a good one here. I mean, we're... Yeah, no duty. Here's a good one. Here's a good one here. Mumia Abu Jamal. The media itself, an arm of mega corporate power, feeds the fear industry so that people are primed like pumps to support wars, rumor, innuendo, legends, and lies. Diamonds are a major concern of Mr. Harry Oppenheimer, and it is through De Beers and the Diamond Corporation, with their associated companies and alliances, that the operations of his Anglo-American corporation stretch out from South Africa into Southwest Africa, Angola, Congo, and West Africa, to control until recently the production and sale of pretty well 85% of the world's diamonds. Even the distribution of the Soviet Union's quite important production has been added by the arrangement to dispose of red diamonds through De Beers selling organization. The De Beers group of companies, as we have seen, is controlled by Rand Selection Corporation Limited. Tightly interwoven, it interlocks with the gem companies of Angola, Mozambique, and the dominating complex that spreads across the Rhodesias and Congo. Rand Selection now dominates the administration of the group by reason of its recent acquisition of the total holdings of De Beers Investment Trust Limited, now known as Ransol Investments. Chief operating company is De Beers Consolidated Mines Limited, and still on its boards is a member of the family of Solly Joel, the East End Londoner, with whom Rhodes adventured into diamonds along with Alfred Bate. Consolidation of De Beers, Kimberley, and Gequia Land Mines, West Mines of Southwest Africa was the original purpose of the company. A considerable number of allied and even different interests have since been added. Besides the mines in South Africa, De Beers operates open cast workings along the southern coast and in Namaqualand, Southwest Africa. A 50% interest is held in the Williamson mine in Tanganyika. The other holder is the Tanganyika government. Among its subsidiary companies, De Beers Consolidated includes Premier Transvaal Diamond Mining Company, Consolidated Mines of Southwest Africa Limited, Diamonds Corporation Limited, De Beers Industrial Corporation Limited. Directly and indirectly, it holds something like 40% of the capital of Diamond Purchasing and Trading Company Limited and Diamond Trading Company Limited, and 31.5% of the industrial distributors. All of these purchasing and distribution companies are main avenues through which the gems and industrial diamond production of the world's principal producers are distributed. De Beers Industrial also interests in diamond production by its control of Griqualand Land, West Diamond Mining Company. So much trouble with that one word. Deutsche Mining Limited, and Jager-Fronstein Mining and Exploration Limited, and Consolidated Company Boitfand Mine Limited. Okay, we're on an ad break for 2 minutes. Right quick, let me just fill up my water. A little nonsense. All right. A little over a minute left. So we saw in the last few chapters, by the way, how all these companies interact and how Anglo-American Corporation, which is coming up here, has an enormous controlling interest in a substantial amount of all these companies. And it's interesting to note as well that, of course, this is something that we have to realize today, that through the fact that some of these companies control most of the mining interests of that place, socialist countries like the former USSR, they have to deal with these capitalist, these imperialist companies in order to obtain certain raw materials sometimes, which, as you can imagine, leads to contradictions in its own right that need to be dealt with. To continue, what seems at first glance to be a rather curious interest for a company engaged in the diamond industry is De Beers Consolidated's 50% holdings of the issued share capital of African explosives and chemical industry. On closer examination, it will not appear so odd. The company thought it expedient and profitable to have its own avenue for purchasing explosives used in opening up working areas of its own mines and those of associated companies. That was the original aim, but once in the explosive business, it was the short road to their manufacture and expansion into serious production of chemicals, especially those allied to explosives manufacture. The present-day operations of African explosives is by no means so limited, nor is there anything innocent about them or the company's composition. Through De Beers Industrial Corporation, it is jointly owned by De Beers Principal, Anglo-American Corporation, and the South African branch of Imperial Chemical Industries Limited. ICI's ramifications and its control of a number of chemicals, synthetics, and manufacturing processes make it one of the most powerful monopolies in the world. It long ago reached the stage of cartelization with other foremost chemicals and armaments organizations. Its cartel arrangements with the major chemical and plastics material company in the world, the IE, DuPont de Nemours Corporation, link it with modern military equipment industry that seems to issue inevitably from chemicals manufacture. Explosives laid the foundation of the DuPont rise to power. Their first big order was to supply Napoleon in his vain attempt to crush Toussaint Louverture and the people of Santo Domingo, and the next was for the War of the United States against so-called Barbary pirates. The Empire of High Finance, Victor Perlo, page 190. Following quotation is from Cartels in Action, quoted by Victor Perlo in The Empires of High Finance, page 195. Quote, the establishment, the role of DuPont, which has continued down through to the present day, when it dominates the greatest and most profitable single corporation in the world, General Motors. Unquote. Wait, no, this is all one huge quote, is it? They just forget to put an end. Thought so. DuPont's association with the ICI goes back about 40 years. It was in 1921 that more than half of the General Motors shares sold by the House of Morgan were bought by the Explosives Trade Limited, a British subsidiary of the Nobel Industries, with which ICI was connected. Explosives were among ICI's earliest operations, and its interest in Nobel's concerns in this and other fields were subsequently absorbed into the heart of the ICI empire. Glad to hear that, comrade. My monthly has been going down substantially since the generous gift donors I got last time. They're complicating the situation around here. I digress. Ever since that early coming together, the alliance between DuPont and ICI has grown more complex. Both of them had effective patent and processing rights with the great German chemical combine IG Farben, and they divided the world between them. Both DuPont and ICI continued to respect their arrangements with IG Farben during the war. DuPont and ICI have abandoned all pretense of business rivalry in numerous major foreign markets, including Canada, Argentina, and Brazil. There, they do business as a single unified concern through jointly owned local companies. They have succeeded in cartelizing these tributary chemical markets, thanks to their combined power and prestige. If we see ICI in association with Oppenheimer companies in South Africa, this should not astonish us. Monopolies are constantly drawing together, aligned by common industrial and financial interests in a given field and at a given time. The ICI Oppenheimer combine is not restricted to African explosives, but repeats itself in association with other Oppenheimer offshoots and groups. British blessing is given to the enterprise through the secondment of the contract of the company of an expert from the British nuclear arms establishment. Moreover, the military equipment produced at its factories is based on the specifications of the British Army, Navy, and Air Forces. Important though African explosives is to the Oppenheimer Combine and South Africa's military designs in Africa, it owes its existence to the diamond mining in which it was originally conceived. It is only one of the De Beers consolidatory progeny. There are several others, among them the investment company, De Beers Holding Limited, of which it controls 84.5%. On the death of J.T. Williamson, De Beers Holding contrived to secure an option on the whole of 1,200 shares constituting the capital of his mine in Tanganyika. A deal was fixed at £4,139,996, with De Beers responsible for estate duty and interest on Williamson's shares. Satisfied of these items was made by secession of 320 shares of Williamson Diamonds Limited to the Tanganyika government, which subsequently bought up a further 280. The price of $1,317,272 agreed upon for these was met, together with 6% total interest out of dividends received by the government on its total holdings of 600 shares. Consolidated Diamond Mines of Southwest Africa Limited, in which De Beers Consolidated has a majority holding, has a concession covering large areas of alluvial diamond deposits in Southwest Africa, valid until the close of the year 2010. This was extended by the Southwest Administration from a previous expiry date of 1972. A most valuable item in the De Beers inventory of profits is the Pass Royalty, owned by Southwest Financial Corporation Limited, a full subsidiary of Consolidated Diamond Mines. This royalty gives its owner 8% of the gross proceeds from the sale of diamonds produced in the Palmana region of Southwest Africa, in which Southwest Finance possesses landed property and other mineral rights and royalties. Participation in diamond distributive trade comes to Consolidated Diamond Mines through the following holdings: Diamond Corporation Limited, 5,996,903 shares. Diamond Trading Company, 80,000 shares. Diamond Purchasing and Trading Company, 200,000 shares. Industrial Distributors Limited, 150,000 shares. And De Beers Holding, 1,150,000 shares. Its own production of diamonds has gone up from 895,744 carats in 1958 to 933,937 in 1960. Taken together with its earnings by way of royalties and investments in the diamond trade, it is small wonder that it has over the past 15 years been able to declare the following impressive dividends: 46 to 49, 40% plus 10% bonus. 1950, 40 plus 20%. 51, 125%. 52 to 58, 150%. 1959, 200%. 1960, 200%. Yeah, because well, whoever said that was incorrect, Barry. The fact is, if they owe you money, they have to pay you out that money. And what ends up happening is they pay you to what they estimated you received, and then there was still left over above and beyond that. So I mean, Jim, well, it's not that it'll be revealed in May. You get a permaban. That is what you get. You still have to appeal. That's why you have to appeal. But they have to pay you out the money. Even if a place or whatever it is, they have a certain obligation that they have to pay you out that money. So neo-colonialism is like not necessarily Jim Crow on a global scale. It's like it's the continuation of the same colonial project that was happening before, only they realized that all they need to take control of is another country's economy, and they allow them to have like the vestiges of freedom, of independence. Like, you have independence in everything but like the economic means, right? And then, as we know, as a result of your economic means being subverted, that does also involve influence in your politics as well. I mean, that's imperialism. What Lenin just described there is imperialism itself. Neo-colonialism is a specific act of taking the economy of that country, right? Having it as basically a de facto colony while allowing it to have, like, its own flag, its own national anthem, you know? Its own political system, insofar as that political system does not interfere with the interests of imperialism. No, Puerto Rico is not neo-colonialism. Puerto Rico is an example of just plain old-fashioned colonialism, actually. A lot of, like, a lot of other countries in the global south and stuff end up becoming neo-colonies. I interpret neo-colonialism as an economic function of colonialism. Well, it's a continuation, right, Sebs? Like, what they realized is it's just like capitalism, just like class society, rather, how it has to keep reinventing itself. Colonialism is like, it reached a point where the old style colonialism, like what Puerto Rico is, was no longer fashionable to the international community. So instead, they have to engage in this new type of colonialism, which you see happening, like, especially in Europe and stuff. Like, we know the U.S. has taken certain Nordic nations and other such, or sort of taken, like, former Eastern European, not Nordic, Eastern European countries as their neo-colonies, while others are still trying to maintain independence of some semblance. We see what happens with that. Yeah, neo is, you get your flag, you get your name, you get you even get a government, you get your own currency, but the things that matter, the economic dependence of your country is still economically dependent on the other country, and a lot of times your economy is owned, as we see what is being talked about here with Guyana, with African Ghana, is that you actually see these other foreign companies have direct control of your markets, right? And have, like, monopolistic control of, like, the diamond production in your country or whatever. But no, you're an independent country. Yeah, and of course there's cultural infiltration and all that. But insofar as culture is concerned, even it's like, oh, you can have your own culture. Just, we're going to come in and we're going to take the mines. We're going to take control of all the mines, all the production. And then we're going to take the finished products that we produce elsewhere and we're going to sell it back to you. Now, not every country is a neo-colony as well, right? So, for example, I would say basically all of the G7 countries are not neo-colonies. They're active participants of the imperialist system, right? They ally with the US because they realize that they have to ally in order to check any advance of fundamental change of this system. So Argentina is neo-colonizing themselves to the US with de-dollarization of their economy. Yes. And that's how neo-colonies often operate, right? They realize that, again, that old-fashioned colonialism is not very palatable. So instead, it's much more effective if you can gain compradors in their country and have them voluntarily submit their economy through economic incentives or whatever else to volunteer their economy for neo-colonialism, right? And that's the best way. Because then the people feel like they have chosen this government on their own. And their government is just cooperating with these other investments and dollarizing their economy and inviting corporations in to and investments in and everything else until you end up with monopolistic control of your economy by a few Western European interests, right? Yeah, you got junior states, you got lapdogs, you got your neo-colonies, and then you got some old-fashioned colonies which are still hanging around. And then you got you got the independent states, which are trying to break away from that, right? Some of them are socialists. 5 of them are socialists. Yeah, I mean, G7 was made in response to G77, right? Which was like the majority countries coming together and trying to like establish some sort of cooperation against the minority exploiter countries, right? And the G7 is a response to that, where they basically were like, well, if all these oppressed people are going to get together and unite against us, we better unite with each other too, insofar as we're willing to stop the attack of this advance. Like this, so this is what has prevented the same sort of situation as World War II and this open conflict between imperialist powers. Instead, now they have to engage all their conflict on like the economic front, right? Capturing of companies and so on and so forth. Okay, Valkyrie, thanks for hanging out, comrade. Hope that makes sense. That's what neo-colonialism is. And that's what we're talking about here, because neo-colonialism was something that became extremely, extremely attractive for the US with the discrediting of old colonialism, especially in regard to Africa, right? With the end of World War II. You see this delegitimating of French colonialism and all this other stuff. And so what comes in, like talking about a huge amount of African places, what comes in instead is American neo-colonialism to replace the old French or Dutch or what English old colonialism that was there. The company's fully paid up and authorized capital stands at, and this is talking about this company right here, Consolidated Diamond Mines, by the way. Yeah, exactly, Sebs, exactly. The company's fully paid up and authorized capital stands at £5,240,000. Its net consolidated profit in 1960 was £10,734,468, after providing £4,622,731 for taxation. Dividends absorbed £5,667,437, the major beneficiary being De Beers Consolidated. The estimated profit for 1961 was $12,848,000, after providing $5,410,000 for taxation and $168,000 for dividends on preference shares. The figure for ordinary dividend payments is not included, but it is likely to be higher than the previous year. Diamond Mining and Utility Company, SWA Limited, is associated with De Beers Consolidated by reason of a cession to the latter company of a large portion of a diamond area in southwest Africa, in exchange for a 20% interest in the net profit on diamonds recovered. The company has 180,000 shares in Diamond Dredging and Mining Company, SWA. Satisfied this purchase. So this company probably has the same name in other places besides Southwest Africa, which is why it designates it. Diamond Mining and Utility issued at par another 540,000 shares in July 1960. their authorized capital then being increased from 300,000 to 500,000 pounds. Its other interests are 114,400 shares in Industrial Diamonds of South Africa, which ceased operations in the spring of 1960, but retains 148,200 shares in Diamond Mining and Utility, as well as 197,900 shares in Lorelei Copper Mines Limited, in which Diamond Mining and Utility also holds 200,000 shares. All in all, this demonstrates what might be described as tight but cozy combination, to say the least. The most interesting hub of the whirling diamond wheel is the Diamond Corporation, whose £22 million capital is owned mainly by De Beers Consolidated Mines, Diamond Mines, Southwest Africa, the ever-present Anglo-American Corporation. The Diamond Corporation purchases, on periodical contract, the diamond production of the world's most important producers, usually on a specific quota basis. These diamonds are then marketed through the Central Selling Organization, together with the output of the De Beers Group mines, and those from the diggings owned and run by the South African government, which is in the mining business on state account. Where do the other diamond trading companies come in? Diamond Trading Company Limited receives and sells to the market diamonds of gems or near gem value. Industrial Distributors Sales Limited have a corner on drilling material and borat for the mines, which they sell to the market. Close associates of De Beers also have interests in these tributary companies of the group. Société Minière de Bekke, South Africa, company within the dragnet of Société Générale de Belgique, has holdings in Industrial Distributors Limited, Diamond Trading Company Limited, Diamond Purchasing and Trading Company Limited, Diamond Development Company Limited, and in another of Société Générale's wards of the diamond world, Société Diamant Borat. Industrial distributors, also within Société Générale's direct investment portfolio, increased in 1961 dividends by about 20% over those of previous years. Beseka's association with the Congo is continued through Société d'Élevage et de Culturel au Congo and C. Maritime Belge. Operating deposits on the Lubelash River in the Congo, which produce mainly industrial diamonds and crushing borat. Beseka has a subsidiary, Société Beseka Manganese, working manganese deposits near the Congolese railway junction. Beginning of 1962, Beseka Manganese established a 500 million franc subsidiary, Société Minière de Kissinger, in which it is a chief shareholder. Kissinger also received certain concessionary and exploration rights from Bekke Manganese. Also participated in October 1962 in the creation of Société Européenne de Derives de Manganese, SEDEMA. The main parties to the formation of Sedema and Associates of the Société d'Entreprise d'Investiments de Beseka, Sebeka, and Manganese Chemicals Corporation of the USA. From the report of the Société Générale for 1962, a directing hand between all this segmentation, it emerges that an extraordinary meeting of Beseka on 21st of March 1962 agreed that Beseka should renounce in favor of a new company, Société Minière de Bakawanga, all its mining rights in the Congo, mainly in the Bakawanga region, and should become the Société d'Entreprise d'Investiments du Beseka, be known by its abbreviated form Sebeka. The purpose of Sebeka was reformed to cover investigation, promotion, and financing by whatever means, in Belgium as well as in the Congo, and other foreign countries of all kinds of enterprises, whether in mining, industry, commerce, agriculture, or transport, especially those having connections with mineral substances of all kinds, as well as their derivatives and substitutes. Within the framework of this new objective, the former participants were increased and new participants were taken up or were in course of examination. In particular, certain ones having to do with the production of artificial diamonds. The principal activity of Sebeka, however, to be its important participation in Society Minerie de Bakawanga, known as MIBA. MIBA's production in 1961, its first year of working, was nearly 15 million carats of diamonds, which the chairman of Societe Generale considered should be its normal rhythm, having regard to this selling market. Sebeka has been busy in South Kasai, where other investments have been placed, including the modernization of a 150-kilometer road from Bakawanga to the station at Mwindidu. Societe Generale's participation in Sebeka stands at 525,000 shares, of no par value. And it has assisted Baseka Manganese to place 10 million francs out of the 11 million francs it has been allotted in the 81 million franc capital of Sedema. Sebeka has taken up another 10 million francs. Oh shit. Thank you so much for the raid, comrades. Welcome in, welcome in. Oh, all these revolutionaries coming on in here, huh? Good to see you all. Also, revolutionary, right here. Hi, name's Larry. We talk about communism, liberation, revolution, all the things that communists like to talk about. We also do a little bit of gaming, a little bit of hanging out, do some candy at the end of the day. Hi, Jeremiah. Today we're reading, well, as we do every day, we're reading a little bit from Kwame Nkrumah, Neo-Colonialism, the final stage of imperialism right now. We're on chapter 10. Once we're done with this, I got a couple videos, including from Gerald Horn.
I've got some literature in my car that will change your whole way of thinking.
Bang, bang, boom. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jeremiah. Hey, Grimgle. Robin Blind, welcome in. Welcome in. Great to see you here. Matthew. Awesome. Love to see you all here. Come in, comrades. Yeah, so after this I have a short clip from Kwame Ture here, who, by the way, took part of his name from Kwame Nkrumah and Ture Secure. Good day to be indigenous. Fuck yeah. Red salute in the reddest of ways. Red salute. So, and then I have Gerald Horn, and then we have some candy to do. And then at the end of the day, I will do rental replays for you all, which is that segment that I do to unwind after we're done all our politics, where we go back and play all the games I played as a kid, like in some weird, rough, autistic order that I felt so compelled to do. We're still on normal Nintendo, so you haven't missed much if you're just going to join for today later. But first, we got to finish reading Kwame Nkrumah. Thank you so much, Dan. Very much appreciate the raid. Can check my pinned message. That's very much appreciated. And also, I do have a little thing right now. I ask some personal things going on right now for me. I do ask that anybody who has the Twitter platform, they are please able to feed and share my pinned post here. That would be very much appreciated and goes an enormous way to helping out right now. On top of the, as I say, on top of the complications with what happened with my mother, now find out that my partner, who has no medical insurance at the moment, also needs to get a CPAP machine ASAP, because she has the worst kind of sleep apnea possible. That's just fantastic. So we're working our way. We're grinding away. All right, I'm gonna continue on with the read. Thanks again for that raid, Dan. Get comfy, everybody. Continue. The object of Sedima is the manufacture of manganese composites and the manganese metals for the European market. Talking about neo-colonialism. Not like Puerto Rico, as we mentioned before, which Puerto Rico is an example of an old-fashioned colony. It is not long before any endeavor, and actually before I continue, I'll just mention again that the reason why, of course, Kwame Nkrumah is talking about neo-colonialism is this is 1960 or 64 this is published. I keep forgetting that. But this is shortly after World War II. It's after World War I, of course. So the old-fashioned colonialism, which we know with like with French and Dutch and English, is becoming not as palatable, not as fashionable, right? So instead, what you have in the midst of this overthrowing and fighting against French colonialism, old-fashioned colonialism, and Dutch colonialism, etc. in Africa, you have the replacement of that with now what's coming in is American neo-colonialism. Which is, of course, when you essentially become a colony in the economic sense. And as long as your economy is totally subverted and totally in the hands of imperialist and colonial interests, then you're allowed to have the tokens of independence, right? Your own flag. You can have your own government insofar as it doesn't interfere with what the imperialist system is doing. Colonial system. You can have your own anthem, so on and so forth. That's neo-colonialism. It is not long before any endeavor to trace the companies engaged in a particular field of mining leads into associations connecting with other sectors of raw materials production. Thus, our examination of De Beers diamond enterprises has taken us into an even vaster world of Societe Generale's interest, which we shall meet again more than once in the course of our journeyings through the tangled maze of international control of Africa's basic riches. It is also significant that in almost every corner we find lurking some coupling with American major industrial concerns. In the present case, Manganese Chemicals Corporation comes immediately and directly into the picture. Comprador government that works for foreign powers. Yeah, as we were saying before, we are seeing Argentina, as Sebs in chat mentioned earlier, we're seeing Argentina and other countries, you know, voluntarily wanting to become neo-colonies themselves, right? Because of the material incentives and so on that go along with that. And in fact, neo-colonies' most effective means of establishing itself is through hands-off comprador, establishing a comprador through a hands-off means, right? That is the most secure way, but not the only way that a neo-colony. They'll install someone directly as well, right? They'll use whatever means necessary in order to maintain it. You see, with Puerto Rico, there's more of a direct, that's more of a direct old-fashioned colony. Despite it having its own flag, technically it's part of in a legal sense that does not exist for other neo-colonies. Looking further into African diamond production, we find another Société Générale offshoot operating in the Congo. Société Internationale Foresterie et Ministrie du Congo. Known briefly as Frommière. It concerns itself with mining, commercial, industrial, and agricultural pursuits, chiefly in Kasai. Main preoccupation is diamond mining. I think especially in a country with settler colonialism, the settler class that has that fascist, which totally exacerbated the situation, especially in Africa, right? That was a huge factor with Rhodesia and former Rhodesia with South Africa. Frommière is one of King Leopold's original main concessions in the Congo. He formed the company in 1906 with the help of, among others, two American business, Thomas F. Fortune and Daniel Guggenheim, the last of whom built up a fortune by mining in South America. Today, Frommière is part of the vast complex dominated by Société Générale, Tanganyika Concessions, and its child, Union Minière de Haut-Katanga, which has the Congo's economic life in the palm of its hand, and is now greedily extended to Angola and Mozambique. Through its subsidiary, Société Internationale Commerciale de Financière de la Frommière, Interfor. It has sister interests with Baseka in a number of agricultural companies working plantations in the Congo on a grand scale. And it has learned to do that out of necessity, out of its own self-preservation. Other holdings by the Frommière are mining companies such as Société de Recherche et Exploration de Bauxite de Congo, Boxy Congo. Cursed ass fucking French names are so fucking cursed. I'm sorry. Featured also in Union Minière. Lengthy list of more important interests. Not that English ones aren't cursed. See, oil is also included in Société Générale's empire through Société de Recherche et d'Exploration de Pétrole. Research and exploration of gas. Society. Okay. So, Corp. You see what I'm saying? This is among Frommière's investments. See what I'm saying about these names? Research and exploration of gas society. Like, that's the company name you're going with? The other one. Research and exploration of bauxite in the Congo Society. Jesus Christ. The Diamond Corporation acts as the rallying center for the merchandise offered for sale by all the large producers. In its role as the central buying organization for the international procurers of diamonds, not surprising that it should have a share in some of the most important producing companies outside the South African groups. Exactly, St. Lotus. Messrs. H.F. Oppenheimer and H.J. Joel of its own directorate are seated on the board of the Angola Diamond Company, Companhia de Diamond de Angola. Another two members of which, Messrs. Albert E. Thiel and A.A. Ryan, such bourgeois-sounding names, adore the Frommière board. Mr. Thiel, and important connections with certain powerful American groups. Yeah, Guggenheim, just the innocent philanthropist type, right? You don't got to worry about A.A. Ryan. Don't worry. Messrs. Albert E. Thiel? Yeah, he's not going to take your money. That guy's not gonna rip you off or anything. The fucking guy named, if someone approaches you with the name Messrs. Albert E. Thiel, you fucking make sure you don't not enter into any business arrangements with that person. We live in a research and exploration of gas society. Good God. Oh yeah, by the way, did you forget at the beginning of this, we pointed out how all of these corporations are directly connected with fucking King Leopold. Hope I don't need to remind you what kind of monster King Leopold was. Mr. Thiel and important connections within certain power. That's part starting right here. Yeah. Oh, he began. Let's just say he's no king of Hyrule. He began his career in 1909 with the Guggenheim brothers, one of whom was so helpful to Leopold II. Thence he graduated to the chairman of Pacific Tin Consolidated Corporation, and to directorates in the Kennecott Copper Corporation and its subsidiary, Braden Copper Company. Oil and nitrates are also Mr. Thiel's business. I don't know if there's any. I'm gonna say, who knows? We did look up this Oppenheimer person, and there's no relation between that Oppenheimer and the bomber, Oppenheimer. Whatever you want to call them. Maricadio Oil and Barbara Oil are numbered among his directorships, as are Chilean Nitrate Sales Corporation and the chairman of the Feldspar Corporation. As a director of Angola Diamond and Fourminiere, he has most certainly not innocently strayed from his basic moorings, anchored in Guggenheim, Kennecott Copper, Oil, Tin, and Nitrates, which the Morgans have their helping hand. The Morgan Guarantee Trust is one of the main arteries from which flows finance for the Oppenheimer combines. Morgan is also in association with the Banque Belge, the leading banking string in the Société Générale structure, and the biggest bank in Belgium. Represented on the Angola Diamond Board is another Angola concern, Companhia de Pesquis Mineral de Angola. Angola Diamonds has monopoly rights permitting it to work for diamonds over almost 390,000 square miles of Angola, an area almost 4 times the size of Ghana or Great Britain. 43 mines are in operation. 3 new ones have been opened to replace 3 whose reserves were running out. Prospecting is going on for further deposits, 19 groups being at work. Direct interest in the company, registered in Portugal, is held by the Angola government, the on-the-spot administrative arm of the Portuguese government. It holds 200,000 shares, slightly in excess of the 198,800 held by the Société Générale. About half the African workers for the company are forced laborers, rounded up by the authorities and receiving a monthly wage of around 70 escudos, equivalent to about 16 shillings. The very handsome profits of the company are divided equally between the province of Angola and its shareholders after 6% has been allocated to the managing bodies. Shareholders' profits at the end of trading 1960 was 137,931 escudos. After the same amount has been received for the Angola province and 15,341,649 escudos for large reserve. Escudos. Total profits, in fact, amounted to 289,343,511 escudos, of which 114,800,000 escudos had come from profits held in reserve. Interim and final dividends absorbed a sum for the year 1960 of 136,670,000 escudos. I'm going to pronounce it different each time. Case. I was right. The company pays no important duties on plant or material and no duties on diamond export. It also enjoys a loan from the Angola government of 100 million escudos, return for the free issue of 100,000 shares of 170 escudos each to the province of Angola in 1955. The unheard of uneconomic rate of interest on this loan is 1%, repayments to be completed in 1971. Angola Diamond Company holds 16 to 266% of the issued capital of Sociedade Portuguesa de Lapteco de Diamonds. Oh yeah, they love that one, St. Lotus. Hamas abroad. Hamas is here now. Hamas is in your bedroom with you. Look under your bed. It's Hamas. And make sure you condemn it when you see it. Oh my god, 4 arrested. That's just cursed. That's cursed. Yep. And they're ramping it up by equating anybody who is for Palestinian liberation. They equate it by equating that with anti-Semitism, as they've done for, countless years. Diamond Corporation has contractual arrangements for the purchase of Angola's diamond output, which has recently been running at over 1 million carats and is estimated to give even higher yields. Since mechanical excavators and washing plant have been installed, following the proof of extension alluvial deposits, gem diamonds represent 65% of the output. Diamond Corporation has broken into the Ivory Coast with the formation of a local subsidiary to purchase diamonds on the open market of that country. How open the market will be is anybody's guess. Some of the other newly independent African countries are striving to break away from the Diamond Corporation domination. Ghana has set up its own diamond market in Accra, and all sales, including Consolidated African Selection Trust Limited, working a 68 square mile concession in the Akim Abukwas district, must sell through it. Sierra Leone Selection Trust Limited is CAS subsidiary operating in Sierra Leone. Incredible as it may sound, Sierra Leone Selection once held exclusive diamond mining rights over practically the whole of the country. In 1955, following protestations from the people, especially in the rich diamond region of Konar, the extent of its concession area was reduced to some 209 square miles. Then the extent of the company's existing working. Curtailments of rights, however, was more apparent than real. The concessionary rights are for 30 years, but restricted rights were granted over a further 250 square miles, of which 100 have since been taken up. The company is also allowed to prospect for deep deposits of diamonds anywhere in Sierra Leone for a period of not less than 10 years, and to mine them. that the agreement was a sham is provided by the undertakings given by the then colonial government not to grant before 1975 to any applicants other than Sierra Leoneans, or companies in which the beneficial interests or greater part of it is held by Sierra Leoneans. Any diamond prospecting licenses, leases, without first offering such licenses or leases to Sierra Leone Selection Trust. Though this virtually gives a free hand to the company, the government nonetheless made it a payment of £1,500,000 to compensate for supposedly lost opportunities. All the 6 million shares issued out of the 6,400,000 authored make up a capital of £1,600,000 are held by caste. What profits the company makes are not publicly known, since accounts are issued only to shareholders. The chairman of both caste and Sierra Leone Selection is Mr. A. Chesty Beatty, who has colleagues on both boards, Messrs. E.C. Warrington Tiger, P.H. Bradford, and P.J. Oppenheimer. Mr. P.J. Oppenheimer also sits on the board of the Diamond Corporation, along with W.A. Chappelle, who is another colleague on the caste board. Both these gentlemen sit together on the London Committee of De Beers Consolidated Mines, Mr. P.J. Oppenheimer also occupying a seat on the Johannesburg Committee, on which he is associated with Major General I.P. de Villiers, C.B., and Mr. A. Wilson. The last named two being also joined together on the Directorate of Consolidated Diamond Mines of Southwest Africa Limited. Mr. Thomas Horat Bradford represents Selection Trust Limited, of which he is managing director. On its main associated companies in America, the Rhodesias, Canada, and Venezuela, Mr. Beatty keeps company with Mr. Bradford on several of these boards. Mr. Chappell's connection with the diamond world is on a decidedly high level. We may judge from his directorship of the Banque Diamantière and Versway in South Africa, Antwerp, which is still the world's major diamond cutting center, employing over 13,000 people in this industry. The Antwerp Diamond Bank occupies an important strategic position. Something like 40,000 to 50,000 carats are cut in Antwerp every week. The bulk of the rough stones coming from the Diamond Trading Company at the London end of De Beers Central Selling Organization. But Antwerp searches other sources for its diamond supplies. In 1961, got as many as 30% of the total weight in carats elsewhere. It is only too obvious that Mr. A. Chesty Beatty moves among the exalted ranks of the diamond world, especially that preponderant section of it dominated by the De Beers Group, and pivoted around the Diamond Corporation and Selling Organization. It is therefore difficult to understand the play that Mr. Beatty made in connection with Sierra Leone government bill, passed towards the end of 1961, obliging all producers of diamonds in Sierra Leone to sell through the government diamond office. Mr. Beatty, a chairman of Selection Trust Limited, as well as of Caste and Sierra Leone Selection, its subsidiary, asserted that the expired contract that Caste had with the Diamond Corporation had not been renewed because of the excessive commission of 12% demanded by it. Caste had offered 4%, which had been rejected. The contract was therefore made with Harry Winston, Incorporated of New York, owners and cutters of the famed Donker diamond, who were said to be looking for a direct source of supply which would sidestep the Diamond Corporation. In view of the interconnection between Selection Trust and the De Beers companies, including the Diamond Corporation, through independent shareholdings as well as directorial interweaving, it is strange to witness one of the most prominent links in the chain, Mr. A. Chester Beatty, protesting his anxiety to protest Sierra Leone's interest against the corporation, of which he is very much a part. While this ad break's running, let me just fill up my water. Be right back and we'll finish up this read. We only got a couple paragraphs left of this chapter. 1 second, and to all my subscribers, thank you so much for the support. Love you, comrades. Thank you, thank you. You're all just fantastic. Building the best community here on Twitch, and we're also learning together as we go. Juche Gang for life, baby! Why don't we see those Juche Gang emotes before
the revolution that feeds the children gets my support.
We got about 1 minute left of the ad. Once we finish this, we'll do our Gerald Horne stuff.
Communism is based.
Did I say Gerald Horne was today?
Long live the People's Revolution!
Yeah. Gerald Horne and a clip by Kwame Ture today. Oh shit, right? And then we'll go to the candy. And we'll finish off the candy with rental replay. Juche Gang, Juche Gang, Juche Gang. Yeah. Healthcare you can't afford. Feeling that right. Feeling that line. Canada's got universal healthcare. Not when it's preventative. In that case, you can suffer. We'll save your life. We just won't actively try to keep you alive. Canadian healthcare. Great, allow me to continue the read. The protest from Mr. Beatty was that if Sierra Leone Selection were obliged to submit its production to the government Diamond Office, this would ultimately go to the Diamond Corporation, which was the Diamond Office's end purchaser. Precisely what he was fighting against. And at the same time, medical professionals might heavily suggest you take up medically assisted death. Yeah, especially if you're on disability, they really want to get you out the door, so to speak. Know that firsthand. The protest from Moreover, this would mean serving the contract with Mr. Winston, for which breach compensation would have to be made. Mr. Beatty pointed out that his solicitude for Sierra Leone's welfare caused him to secure a revaluation of the Diamond Corporation's contract in 1957, so that an additional £2,700,000 had been received in its last 3 years of operation. There is a curious twist here, for Mr. Beatty asserts that £500,000 more in revenue would be received by the Sierra Leone government under the Winston contract than under one concluded with Diamond Corporation. 4 pertinent questions arise from this. What increased percentage of revenue was represented by the additional £2,700,000 Mr. Beattie said was obtained from the Diamond Corporation on the last 3 years of the expired contract? How much of this came into the hands of the Sierra Leone government, and what increased percentage of revenue did it represent for the government? How is it that Mr. Beattie could not obtain similarly advantaged terms from a new contract with Diamond Corporation? Is the 8% better price from Winston accurately reflected in the estimate of over £500,000 additional revenue for the government that would accrue from the contract with Winston? But is not all this just a facade aimed at maintaining the fiction that Selection Trust and Diamond Corporation are unrelated entities? A fiction, retailed even by the press, one would assume knows better. For we have the Freetown correspondent of West Africa declaring in that journal's issue of 27th of January 1962 that 2 European giants in the diamond industry, Diamond Corporation and Selection Trust, were clearly loggerheads. The heart of the matter really lies in Mr. Beattie's complaint that the Sierra Leone's government's regulation interferes with his company's freedom, expressly laid down by the former colonial government in their concession agreement, to sell as they think fit. Mr. Beattie, like the monopolistic interests he represents so efficiently on many boards, does not wish to recognize the winds of change that have come with African independence, giving new nations the opportunity to order their economies in the way they consider more beneficial to their own good. Intrusion into the diamond field has been made lately by a Texan, who has more usually appeared wherever oil was bubbling. Mr. Sam Collins has put his hands to gathering diamonds from the seabed of the Chemase River, or the Chemase Reef, why I said river, West African coast, reported to contain a minimum reserves of 14 million carats. Mr. Collins scouted round for additional capital for his Sea Diamonds Company, holding the operating company, Marine Diamonds. It was reported that Mr. Oppenheimer, after watching his activities with some concern, decided to collaborate with Mr. Collins. It would appear that General Mining and Finance Corporation and Anglo-Transvaal Consolidated, which we have already met as part of the Anglo-American complex, had engaged themselves in the venture. They were to make available additional funds up to £500,000 to equalize with the like amount to be put up by Mr. Collins and the companies controlled by him. General Mining has an exchange of shares with Anglo-American and De Beers Consolidated Mines, is among its portfolio of investments, as is also National Finance Corporation of South Africa, which is so helpful to a number of Oppenheimer companies in the matter of loans.
Let's go, Smokes.
Let's go, Smokes.
Right away, Common. Thank you. Oh, wow. Damn. Wait, hold on. What? Gabe's not here, man. Ooh, that one actually gave me a little bit of a... De Beers apparently had an option on 25% of Sea Diamond's equity and a first refusal on Mr. Collins' holdings, said to be about 80%.
He's a communist.
Oh, really?
Yep, big communist. Big communist.
Oh.
Sea Diamonds, in turn, holds some 44% of the share capital of Marine Diamonds. General Mining holds 25% of the balance. Anglo-Transvaal 15%, and another Oppenheimer company, Midder-Witwatersrand Western Areas Limited, administered by Anglo-Transvaal. 7.5%. The remainder is held by the original concession holders. Middle Witwatersrand has a right of 10% participation in any prospecting ventures undertaken by Angloval Rhodesian Exploration Limited, of whose equity 50%
it's all for one
is held in
motherfucker and one motherfucker
Copper.
for all motherfuckers everywhere, you know what I'm saying?
Oh shit, thank you so much, Dimitri, for the gifted subby to Salty Kwame. Appreciate that, comrade. That means a ton. Thank you. Long way right now. I don't know if you heard that. My elbow did a little cracking sound there. Felt it too. Everything seems to move round in circular motion within a ring that has no end. Mr. Sam Collins may have acted quickly and shrewdly in staking his claim to an offshore diamond reef, and he will, in all probability, make a killing. The greatest winners will certainly prove, in the long run, to be Mr. Oppenheimer and his cohorts. Backstage going on to obtain control of what promises to be the most highly profitable venture prompted the Economist Johannesburg correspondent to observe that full story of the recent negotiations, if it ever emerged, might tell of a fierce struggle for control between South Africa's mining magnate in the tradition of the rough, tough early days of Kimberley and the Rand. 16th of March, 1963. See those Juche Gang emotes. Hey Frank, welcome, comrade. Great to see you. Yep, we're at the last paragraph. It is unlikely that De Boers will be able to make its way into the Japanese company, now setting up a plant in Japan for the manufacture of synthetic diamonds, which will initially turn out 300,000 carats a year to reach 600,000 annually. De Beers, in association with Society Mineiro de Passeca, have their own plant in South Africa for the manufacture of synthetic diamond grit operated by ultra-high pressure units. General Electric of America also has a process for turning out manufactured diamonds. Japanese say theirs is not the same. We have referred earlier to Sebeka's interest in the possibility of producing artificial diamonds. There have been several attempts to create diamonds by a factory process, but they have, until now, proved somewhat uneconomic. Strong likelihood that synthetic stones, which can compete in price and performance with the natural product, will soon be produced. Another blow may be struck at the developing producer countries of Africa. Here's chapter 10. That was on the Diamond Group. Next will be on mining interests in Central Africa. Then companies and combines. Juicy, getting juicy. Economic pressure on the Congo Republic. This will be important. So we're seeing how all the economy is captured by all these major imperialist interests in such a way that sets them up not as the old-fashioned colonies that preceded them in that same area in Africa, but rather as neo-colonies, whereby their economies are wholly subverted and wholly subdued to Western interests, to colonial interests, but yet they have all the other markings of independence, so long as, again, their political system is not against that neo-colonialism, doesn't threat that neo-colonial system established. Currently listening while covered in a weighted blanket. My cat. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so next time we read, which will be tomorrow, because I'm reading every day now, comrades. I decided that reading every day makes more sense for it. So, tomorrow, we're going to continue on with our read on the mining interests of Central Africa. I do think it'd be wrong to say most settler Marxists are stuck on economism because of not dealing with settler bias. They have not ever come to overcome the chauvinism. Oh yeah, and I mean, it's impossible for them to without. They need to the way they can overcome it. They need revolutionary. They need the influence and the revolutionary leadership of formerly colonized people. That's just a matter of fact, right? Yeah, you're definitely not wrong to say that most settlers are stuck on economism. We talk about that a lot on here. Because before I started saving my reading, I think we're going to reread this. So that we can get it in the actual playlist. So if you don't know what I mean,